Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coast Guard, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on December 7, 2017. And notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building.
Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we just remain standing for a few moments to remember our troops and their family, and especially Sharon Day, who was a longtime resident and employee of the Borough of Belmar. Okay, thank you. Okay, first up, I'm going to read a proclamation, and then the mayor, the council will step down off the dais and have a little photo op, and we'll have a group here that will explain to you the rest of the proclamation. Declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas every day, 96 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility. Whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas to help honor the 96 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 1st, 2018, the first Friday in June, as the 4th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 1st, the first Friday in June, 2018, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 1st, 2018, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, declares the first Friday in June 1st, June 1st, 2018, to be the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. If we could step down off the dais, we have some people coming up. Ann, could you kind of explain your group, organization?
Okay, well, I'm just going to say thank you to Mayor McGovern and the Belmar Borough Council for giving me the time to speak about declaring National Gun Violence Awareness Day. My name is Ann Owens. I'm a resident of Belmar, and I'm a member of the Monmouth County Group of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Much like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Moms Demand Action is a nonpartisan, grassroots movement begun right after the Newtown school shooting in 2012. While fully supporting the right of law-abiding citizens to own firearms, our goal is to reduce the 36,000 deaths every year through sensible legislation, raising awareness, and by promoting gun safety. I sincerely thank you for announcing this proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Belmar. I invite everyone who agrees that we can do more to save American lives from gun violence to wear orange on June 1st to help spread the word about the importance of remembering and honoring all victims of gun violence. We also invite you and your families to attend our Wear Orange rally on Saturday, June 2nd in Asbury Park at Springwood Park from 12:30 to 3:30. If you'd like more information about the event or Moms Demand Action, I have flyers for you to take. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You know, I have to add. Hi, everybody, I'm Charlene Mokas Hoveter, and being personally affected by gun violence, my sister was murdered in 1986. I'm so glad that Belmar has given this proclamation. And having been a part of Belmar, the public school and the Catholic school for 30-plus years, I am especially proud and grateful to Mayor McGovern and the council. I want to thank you very much, and I want to reiterate that Moms Demand Action is nonpartisan. We have Republicans and Democrats and independents, and we respect the Second Amendment. That's important to know.
Yes, thank you. Stop here.
Thank you. Stop.
Oh, you know?
Mayor McGovern, I'm gonna leave so I can get home before the hail.
No, you can't go.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to protest the thinly veiled attack on the Second Amendment. That
Okay,
political attack
workshop
on the Second
discussions.
Amendment. Please, let's not have it again.
We have the,
The council committees will do next time, actually.
We'll do it next time?
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
okay, why don't we call up the local redevelopment, River Avenue, Greg?
Sir, there is 2 opportunities for you in this meeting to erupt, make any noises you want. But we cannot tolerate you interrupting speakers.
No
and
tolerance.
Okay. I'm just,
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, I can put in a point of order.
Thank you, Chief. Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is William Wolf. I'm an attorney with the law firm Bathgate, Wegner and Wolf. Our law firm represents Loco Co. LLC. Our client is the owner of Block 57, Lot 4 in Belmar, New Jersey, which is just right across the parking lot along the riverfront, although our client does not own any portion of the riverfront. This project received planning board approval on December 18, 2017 for 10 duplex residential units on the second and third floors and the first floor for commercial space. On September 5, 2017, our client asked the mayor and council to permit conversion to all residential. That's based upon paragraph 2G of the settlement agreement between the municipality and Loco, and section 5.01, Roman numeral 4, the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement, which is paragraph 7 of that document. Consistent with the settlement agreement and the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement, our client made that application September 5, 2017. At that time, there were only 4 members of the council present. The mayor was not in attendance at that time, and it was a 4-4 vote. Due to the fact that there was a 4-4 vote on the conversion of the first floor to residential, that was a de facto negative vote. It was not, as I indicated, a vote on the merits of the application, but it was a technical denial. The local believes that all residential is a better option for the development. Our client had an informal meeting with certain members of with the mayor and certain members of the borough administration to discuss the potential of converting the first floor to all residential. And at that informal meeting, our client discussed revisions to the approved site plan, which would include eliminating the gazebo, reducing the area of pavers, thereby reducing impervious coverage, reducing the number of reserved parking spaces, and increasing access to the waterfront by providing 3 rather than 2 access points, one on the east and the west end in the center of the site. Tonight, LOCO is asking the mayor and council to reconsider the concept of the residential conversion to a total of 16 residential units. That would consist of 10 duplex units on the second and third floors of the building, 5 in each of the 2 buildings, and 6 flats on the first floor, 3 flats in each building for a total of 16 units. Currently, the approval of the planning board permits LOCO to dedicate 38 parking spaces for residents or users of the LOCO site. The proposal is to reduce that 38 reserved spots to 28, resulting in 10 spaces potentially available to the public. The 28 reserved spaces would be allocated as follows: 20, 2 each for the 10 duplex units, and additional 6, 1 each for the 6 flats, and 2 discretionary spaces for a total of 28. Our client submits that there are many public benefits associated with the conversion, including a high tax rateable, privately owned units rather than rental units, off-site parking for all units, less effect on parking and traffic flow on the public streets than 10 residential units and commercial space. The proposal of our client, in our opinion, promotes the public welfare stated in sections A, C, D, E, G, H, I, J, and K of NJSA 40:55-D-2, which is the beginning section of the municipal land use law. Based upon the conversion, there would be less demand for public services and a mixed-use configuration, such as reduced sewer capacity, less garbage, less movement to and from the buildings. It would be the catalyst for development of an underutilized area of the borough and an anchor for emerging upscale residential development. All residential units would obviously generate less flow to the pumping station and the sanitary sewer lines. Our client has also not asked for a pilot, unlike other developers. The settlement agreement and the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement contemplates a conversion from all residential and commercial to all residential. We ask tonight that the mayor and council take a vote in favor of that conversion. We don't think it requires an amendment to the current documentation, that being the settlement agreement in the First Amendment, except perhaps for a change in the parking, indicating that there would be a 28 reserved site. I have with me tonight 2 of the principals of LOCO. If anyone on the council or the mayor has any questions, I also have a revised site plan that shows the revisions that are being proposed, that is the deletion of the gazebo, the reduction in the area of the pavers, the reduced number of reserved parking spaces, and increased access to the waterfront. I'm here tonight to answer any questions, as are 2 principals of our client.
Thank you. Bill, do you have anything to add to this? And it just probably explains to who you are.
I can, nobody's ever accused me of being quiet anyway. Bill Northgrave, found in Scotland Bowman on the borough's redevelopment council. I participated in the meeting that Mr. Wolf described. The only thing I would say is that, and I'll defer to council if he disagrees, but as Mr. Wolf said that he doesn't think it would require an amendment to the agreement. I think it would require an amendment to the agreement, but I think that amendment can be approved by you this evening. You can adopt a resolution saying, based on the presentation, which is consistent with the letter that Mr. Wolf sent on April 25, that you would just direct me to amend the redevelopment agreement consistent with this. So if you want to move forward, you can move forward, and that would allow the redeveloper to move the project along a little more quickly. I know they are coming up against some deadlines from the original agreement, so that we had suggested that if there was an action by the council at this time, that they would need to seek an extension, which would, should naturally be granted. But this would obviate the need for that. So unless Mr. Kennedy.
I think that's perfectly acceptable to proceed in that. I agree with Mr. Northcliffe.
Okay. Anybody on the council have any questions?
I have a
Quick
couple.
question.
Sure.
Ladies.
You mentioned there'll be 28 parking spots, and they will all be for the tenants, for the owners?
Yes, and then the other 10 spots would be unreserved and therefore open to the public.
Okay, so there will be 38 total?
38 total,
Okay.
28 dedicated, 10 open to the public.
And are there areas, I'm not sure the exact drawing, but are there areas where public can get through to the waterfront?
Yes, there are 3.
There's 3,
On
okay.
the north end of the west end of the project, the center, and the east end of the project. And
Okay.
the revised plan with the commercial gone and residential on the first floor permits that third access point.
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
You don't happen to have a copy of a redesigned
I
site
do.
plan? I'd just like to see. Oh, great.
May I present it to the council?
Yeah.
I think you have.
I have.
Yeah.
I would assume, I think, I am very interested in making sure that the public can get access to the walkway under the bridge.
Follow that yellow brick road.
There you go, very good. All right, so there's public access right up here, and they can get right to the sidewalk that walks along there. Is the sidewalk going to be clear?
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Our original plan that was approved by the planning board only had one access point, and the Riverwalk is here.
Yeah.
It went along the back and came out in the driveway, which we actually own, that we allow to share with Ollie Klein.
Yeah.
To shift to residential, we want to create not one, but 2 more access points. One right down the middle up through the promenade, and then one along the railroad tracks. Now, we've also been speaking with representatives from New Jersey Transit. As it is right now, if we go with the commercial residential split, they're going to have to create a new access point to get up to the bridge. By switching to the residential, this path that we're going to put along, they'll still have access to their stairs.
To be honest with you, I don't mean to interrupt that, but I think this western access point is the natural way most public people would, well, I think the public would be expecting that's the way they would go. I don't know how many people would want to walk right through the middle of the courtyard, although it's nice that it's there. This is, I think, the natural access point is the one on the west.
And the public will have all 3, whatever they choose to.
My question will be about signage. I'd like to make sure that people can see that this is, somehow there's a sign to Riverwalk and let people know that they can go down this way.
We as long as we'll be happy to work with a member of the council of what you would want regarding signage. Again, I agree. There's no reason that we couldn't have signage on all.
Okay.
Because again, everyone that comes from the west that goes underneath the bridge right now, they have been going along
Right.
the westerly track because of the way it was constructed. But the thing is that when they do come up this way, they'll still get to walk along the river if they choose to come out that way. But again, through the middle of the project, again, all 3 areas are going to be utilized, we anticipate, by the public. And because it won't be commercial, there won't be heavy traffic flow of people and extra cars in that area. So this way, it'll become a more, I guess, either walk or bike friendly transition point.
And 28 spaces is good.
We wanted to share some, with the borough. We believe that 28 will work. Our condos, the way our original condos or bi-levels on the second and third floor. Those 10 units for paid condos, we really need to give those 2 spots, but we believe we can go with 1 spot for each with a couple overflow. That's why 28, which would leave 10 for the public.
Great, thank you, appreciate
Mark?
it.
Yeah, I'm fine with the project. I mean, in the area that it is, making it all residential, I think would probably benefit everyone. So, yeah, I'm fine with the project.
Mark?
Will the access to Riverwalk, will that be stairs or is that going to be ramp access?
Um,
The ADA,
Everything is ADA compliant. Actually, 2 of them are ADA compliant. The east one and the west one, if you, because we're in a flood zone, the base elevation of the buildings is about 3 feet higher than the existing grade, so there are steps to come up, so they would have the option of walking up the steps and walking down the steps in the middle. There's no way really to ramp that. But again, there's handicap access on both points, so if they want to go east, or west, they have handicap access. If they want to walk up and down the steps, they have that opportunity also.
and will those pathways have lighting for the evening? I would expect you'd see a lot of traffic coming from clients going over the marina and vice versa.
We have a couple of different lighting options that we're going to have a retaining wall. And in the retaining wall, we anticipate put lighting, which is similar to the lighting along the Riverwalk itself, which is actually part of the railing system that they have there. But we plan on putting, we have some light poles that we basically plan on putting up down there or whatever we need to do.
Yeah, that's a nice look.
And in regards to the flood zone, the first floor being residential now, where is their elevation, where would their elevation certificate be above base flood elevation?
Base flood elevation, I believe, is 1 foot over, which is 10, and we're at 11.5. So we're actually going to be, Belmar's 1 foot over the base flood grade. We'll be 1.5 feet over that for the first floor of residential.
Okay.
So I believe we're 12.5, which, again, we were all here for Sandy, and water came in probably in that area about 3 feet over the top. So we'll be probably 1.5 feet over that for that elevation, because we plan to have a step up in on the first floor. But whether it was commercial or residential, we still plan on the 12.5 first floor.
Okay. Thank you. I think residential in this area is probably better than retail.
I agree. The retail was just gonna, if it was successful retail, it was gonna add too much intensity in that confined area, so I like the fact that you're going all residential. So Colleen, what do we do now?
Well, as Mr. Northgrave recommended, you can essentially vote on a resolution modifying the redevelopers agreement in accordance with the presentation and the details of the letter of
April 25, 2018, and the concept plan that was also provided.
And you're gonna expect me to remember that I make a motion to modify the
Well,
resolution?
if we could, Mayor, what I would, perhaps I suggest.
I got like what you're gonna say
here.
here.
I'll suggest some language, and if it's agreeable to council, someone can say
I make that
motion and second. So the resolution you'd be adopting this evening would be to authorize the amendment to the redevelopment agreement reflecting the April 25, 2018 letter from Mr. Wolf, the concept plan attached there too, consistent with the presentation made to council this evening. If that's acceptable, then a motion and a second and a vote would authorize that action.
Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes.
Councilman Lennon?
Yes.
That's it? Thank you.
On behalf of my client, I'd like to thank the mayor and council as well as the professional consultants, the attorneys, the engineers that represent the municipality. Our client is very grateful for the amendment, and our client believes, and I think this board recognizes the benefits of the conversion to all residential. Thank you.
Thank
Do you
you.
have an approximate timeframe when it would be completed? I know it's hard to, but I'm just wondering.
Right now, where we're at is that our architect is in the midst of doing the final building plans for planning board. We actually, when this meeting came up a couple weeks ago, we contacted our engineer because we're gonna have to put pilings on the site, and we held him up till after tonight. We still hope to start construction sometime this summer. You know, that's our plan. Again, we have to, you know, in order to get our permits, so we have to have our foundation plan first, which, you know, he's still a couple of weeks away from finishing. But we fully anticipate applying for permits at some point this summer, because we, you know, while the market's there, we really would like to start construction on this project, you know.
That'd be great.
I really appreciate what you guys did here. I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
You can stay if you would like, but. Next for the workshop discussion, did you all get a copy of the zoning board's annual report? Is there anything on there that you have questions about? Greg, there was one question that the zoning board sent to us. They wanted clarification of an ordinance definition for bedroom. I don't know in our ordinance if it must be a little bit vague, if the board adjustment is asking us for a more concise definition.
I'm sure to take a look at that and provide you with a memo for the next meeting. Maybe some suggestions. I'll also speak to Mr. Kennedy, get his opinion where he ran into issues in specific circumstances that was something before I knew it was changed. But I can do that for you, Mayor. No problem.
I think April has the definition pulled up. Do you want her to read it for the?
Sure.
Sure,
Yeah,
April?
So it says, a bedroom shall mean a room or portion of a structure with the principal function of serving as sleeping quarters. So the zoning board issue came up because if someone submits plans, they can have 5 rooms, and they say on the plans that 4 of those rooms are bedrooms, and they label the 5th room as a den, and then they don't count it in their parking calculations and other requirements. So the zoning board was looking for some guidance on should they really be counting that as a bedroom, because it could be a bedroom, or is there any kind of language that could be added to the ordinance to help them look?
Since I stayed mayor, one of the things I've done in other places is that I've run into this very problem with people building supposedly 2-bedroom units, and they turn into 3-bedroom units, which, as you know, has a significant impact. What we've done is, and I think the American Institute of Architects or somebody has a definition, if you make the doorways a certain width and if you make the windows a certain height, they cannot be used as a bedroom. It would be in violation of construction code. So the way the zoning board and the planning board get around that issue is say, okay, if you're saying bedroom, if you're saying room 5 is a den, then it has to be 8-foot wide doorway, and the windows have to be 5 feet from the floor, and they can only be 2 feet high, or whatever the actual numbers are. But that's, yeah, that's.
But then it wouldn't be uniform exterior.
Right, well, but there's ways to do it. I mean, there's ways to build it in, yeah, there's ways to build it in architecturally, but it basically prevents it from being used as a bedroom. And if it was being used as a bedroom, your construction code official or zoning official can go in and say, you're in violation. Easier for your construction code official.
Right on site. We can,
Yeah, so it's just an idea. If it works for you, great.
So Greg, you can look into that. That makes sense to me. Because there was, in April, while you're here, they had another question. If a garage is to be used for something other than for parking, would that affect the parking calculations, and if so, how? Can you explain that?
Sure, so the garage definition says it's a building used for the parking or temporary storage of automobiles, and that's it. When everybody knows that garages are not usually used for cars, they're more for storage. The zoning board's had a few people say they want to have an office on the half-story, or an art studio, or something like that. And then it gets into, well, how does that affect floor area ratio? Could they make that room a bedroom, and then does that affect parking?
Right.
So they were looking for some guidance from either the mayor and council or the planning board on whether or not we want to allow other uses in a garage besides just parking,
How do they determine parking for a house?
by the number of bedrooms.
By the number of bedrooms? Not by, so if they lose the garage, they can't build another garage for more cars or anything like that, correct?
Well, they still have to provide the number.
Right.
Yeah.
They have to-
Whether it's in a
the
garage or a
counts as
room.
part of their
Yeah.
parking requirement. But if they're not gonna use it for the parking, then
But
we're
I
already
think
short of
for
space.
the purpose of construction, it needs to be considered a garage, otherwise it's an accessory structure, right? I mean,
Correct.
garages have certain requirements where it has to be fireproof, drywall that's going in.
Mhm.
You know, you can't have carbon monoxide leaks, and I think as construction, it should be built to those standards, regardless of what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use your garage as an art studio, I don't think there's anything in here that prohibits you from doing that. It still needs to be built as a garage.
Well, that would be all the requirements of an architect when presenting the plans, but
Well, the zoning officer takes the stand that this definition of a garage, it says automobile storage only. So even technically, they look at it as storage of bicycles and beach equipment and things like that isn't allowed under the ordinance, even though that's what everyone uses their garage for.
But it's temporary storage of the car, so I could temporarily store my car there next year.
Right.
As long as it could easily be converted to be able to store a vehicle, I think that would be okay.
Greg, did you get a list of this?
Yeah, I got it tonight, yes.
Can you look at that, see if we can tighten it up and answer the questions to the planning board?
Yes, and I'm going to reach out to the zoning board attorney to get a better flavor for where the rubber meets the road on that, particularly the garage issue. Reggie Mishra.
I'm not sure we could regulate bicycles in the garage. So, can we?
Well, I think what the zoning officer is pointing out is that the fact that people are using it that way technically violates the zoning ordinance, and it doesn't appear that the council would want to prohibit beach equipment and bikes from being in the garage, or you probably wouldn't be here very long. So I think he wants you to square what's happening on the ground with what the ordinance said. I think it's really his real point. I can certainly do that. I just want to ask him about some cases that came up, so I get an idea what people are doing out there.
The last two bullets mentioned in that memo, one refers to the placement of parking or driveways in between the front facade of the house and the sidewalk. And then the second one, which we've all been very well aware of, is with the raising and elevation of homes, the consideration of some kind of design standard in terms of what is wrapped around that elevation. So these are areas, topics that we're aware of. These may be appropriate for referral to the planning board for their discussion and recommendation.
This one in particular,
I think on both of these issues is something that we might want to refer to the planning board if you guys would like to pursue that.
Well, I'd like to talk on the issue of elevated houses. I can speak on this one personally.
Yeah, but your house is a little bit higher now after that.
About
storm, huh?
8 feet higher, and I will say, having to put siding down to the, extend my siding down by 4 feet would have cost me somewhere in the ballpark of $5,000 to be able to do it. So for people who are already going through the financial hardship of having to elevate their house, this is another burden that is going to be hard to swallow. I mean, I agree it looks unsightly, but I think to force people to do it is not in our best interest. I think people want to do it. I certainly want to do it, but I'm going to do it at the pace I can afford to do it, not all at once, especially if you're trying to get your contractor to finish up and wrap up the construction. You have to front a significant amount of money already to get these houses elevated. So fortunately, I think we're already beyond most of the Sandy recovery with people elevating their houses. But if we were to experience an incident like that again, I think it would be a significant financial hardship to people to have to do.
Are there other ways to do this aesthetically as opposed to
Yes.
burdening them with $5,000?
This has come up several times, both your council and before planning and zoning board since Hurricane Sandy, and I think there was restraint exercised in really creating any kind of standard until now, because we were recognizing the sheer volume of elevations and the focus on making it as easy as possible for people to rebuild and come home and elevate. So I think there is a spectrum of options we've looked at in the past, anything from suggestions of lattice to painting to siding. And I think that is the kind of thing that your planning board can make recommendations on. And it would come back here for your approval. It'd have to go back through an ordinance change.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
What about the cluster development thing?
I can explain that. So there's a section of the ordinance that allows for multifamily cluster development, and the zoning board actually has an application before them now that is trying to do what the ordinance allows, but they don't comply with it because of the way their lot is situated. So their lot is actually only a couple feet smaller than what that ordinance requires in order to do this type of development, so that's, they're asking for variances. And the way their lot is configured, it also doesn't comply because they have to build the townhouses going sideways and like north to south, whereas the ordinance says that the townhouses are supposed to be built east to west. So the zoning board was wondering that if this is the type of thing that's going to come up more often when these larger properties are starting to redevelop, should the ordinance be tweaked to allow like some variations to the types of development so that they aren't coming for variances for violating the ordinance even though the spirit is there.
And again, that could be a recommendation of planning board, if you'd like them to workshop that for you,
Yeah.
and send you some recommendations.
Yeah, when we do that, sounds good.
Okay, we can do that.
And on the driveway issue, just to clarify what that is, we have an ordinance that says you're not allowed to park in your front yard.
Right.
So what happens is on a lot of the smaller lots, they have a driveway, but since you aren't allowed to park in the front yard, that area of the driveway technically doesn't count as a legal parking space. So there's a lot of people asking for parking variances because they only have one other spot behind that initial spot. So they wanted you to look at that ordinance as well and see.
Explain that again to me. In other words, they have a small lot, they have a driveway on the side of the yard,
Right.
but they can only pull in far enough so
So if you
that,
have a 40-foot driveway, that would give you 2 parking spaces. But technically, the first 20 feet is in the front of your house. And by our ordinance, that is not a legal parking space because you're not allowed to park in your front yard, even though everybody does, they park there.
sure.
So technically, they only have 1 parking space and their house might be a 3-bedroom requiring 2 or 3 parking spaces, and they need to get a variance.
So we could tweak the ordinance to say if it's a driveway, then you can park in it?
You could count the spot towards your requirement.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
since that's the reality of the situation as it is now anyway.
Yes, I think it's based on some old school
So
thinking.
where are we going to do that? Are we going to do all that at a council meeting, or are we going to ask Greg to
I
show something?
would recommend that Mr. Cannon speak with our planning board attorney, and we ask them to workshop these various issues and send forth their recommendations for you guys to consider as future meetings.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
There's one more issue on the bottom here, the increasing the special meeting fee from
Oh, yes.
$500 to $1,000.
Yes.
This is in relation to a large number of applications we're getting, or?
Yes, the zoning board, every once in a while gets a little backed up and they'll get a request for special meetings. And they felt that since they're doing a second meeting that month, not because of necessarily need, it's the applicant wanting to move forward quicker or jump the line, they felt that the fee should be
Oh,
a
they
little
asked for a
higher
special meeting for their application?
with their application because they don't want to wait in line.
And I would offer from a budgeting perspective, and you're going to be seeing an introduction of your budget tonight, I would certainly encourage you to consider at least increasing that special fee if it is going to help somebody kind of advance their application ahead of the line. We incur costs to staff
Sure.
those meetings and process them, so.
That extra $500 would probably just cover our costs also,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Okay.
We're not making money here.
Yeah, we don't want to lose money
Correct.
on someone else's application. I'm going to just finish up on workshop discussion. We all know that there were tentative plans for what we call Brandywine, which would be a development of this property that would build us a gymnasium, a police department, administration building, plus a parking garage and apartments. And we're planning on going up to as high as 5 stories, is that correct?
That's
But we're getting close to the Memorial Day, and the preliminary discussions with the borough, as proposed by Brandywine, they have not moved as swiftly as originally anticipated. I personally think it's a little bit too close to summer, too much is going on in Belmar to kind of be dealing with an issue that's this important to Belmar. I think it might be good to put this off for a couple months, so we can get more input instead of worrying about all the everything that's happening in Belmar during the summer season. And we can revisit it then, in maybe about 6 months after everything calms down. Anybody have any thoughts?
I agree.
Absolutely. I think the design they proposed, and again, I was not a member of the council before that was proposed, but based on what I've seen of it, I just think it's too big for this area.
Well-
I believe we need a new borough hall, but I just think that is not the right project to be able to do this in. I mean, it'd be great to get it for free. My concern is that we're giving too much away to get it.
If I may, I think to Councilman Lev's point, there's a lot that needs to be worked out with this a project of this scope. And Mr. Northgate is familiar with my line of thinking on this as well, is with the height of summer coming, we all have very full plates in terms of running the beach down, and to work out all of those negotiations and really come back with a solid plan that I think benefits everyone. The suggestion to table it for 6 months is appropriate.
Jen?
No, I agree. It's not like it's one single building with, apartments. There's a lot involved, in not just the new spot, but where everybody's going to go in the interim and finding space and et cetera. So it was very preliminary what we were presented. It's an exciting opportunity, for Borough Hall and the PD and a new jail, et cetera. But yeah, I just think the timing is quite difficult right now, just because of how our summer is. So.
Mark?
Yeah, I agree we should put it off, but I also would like to still emphasize that we should put a committee together. It's a very large project, there's a lot involved, there's a lot of people, so like September, October, we can start,
Mark, could you speak up?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with putting it off for the 6 months, but I also like to still put a committee together, maybe some people from the school, people from the police department, everybody that's going to be involved in this size of a project, to really take a good look at all sides of it. More people I think you have involved looking at it, you eliminate a lot of problems down the road. So, if we could start like September or October, put some kind of a committee together to look at all sides of it, I still think we should go forward with that. We still need work on this building, and we really should start to take a good hard look at it with just more than a couple of people. I think we need some people in the community and everybody that's going to be involved in it. So
I agree. I know we need the new police department administration, the gym. But I would like to get the tax ratables that's offered by having a private development here. But by putting it off, Bill, you would be able to answer, could we put, now that we know someone is willing to build this stuff for us so that they could build some private stuff, could we put it out for like an RFP and see what else we could get people to bid on it, or come and give us a better deal? Maybe a smaller deal, a smaller amount of apartments. And what do you think, since you're into this?
Yeah, you certainly could do that. I think a lot of these things are really driven by the economics.
Yeah.
So you're going to need to, maybe the way to, and I think it's part of, Colleen and I were discussing part of this, and it's kind of, like I need, for me to be involved, for your financial advisor to be involved, I need the attention of the VA and the council. And it's a little hard for you to be focused on that when you're worried about, 100,000 people coming to town every weekend. Because there's a lot of those issues. But the short answer is yes, you can go out for an RFP to do whatever, to choose the developer, to choose the style, to choose the size, to choose all those things. One of the things you may want to do, though, is even before that, and maybe we can get started on that in September or October, is to look at what it might be. What are the dollars being thrown off? And what's it going to cost to do Borough Hall, to do a gym, to do a PD, to do all those things? If you can get those two buckets filled, Robin certainly probably needs to be involved. We'll figure out all those costs, because that's the
She
one
just
part.
gave you a dirty look.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. I'm sure she did. I will promise to bring donuts from Bayonne every time I come, though. But yeah, so you need to fill those two. You need to identify and then fill those two buckets, and then that will dictate, because it may very well be that you need X number of units to meet the expectation, and then you can build from there. Then you can lower your expectations or raise the.
Because they can't build everything for us and just have a few apartments for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have to be understanding that this is their
Right.
investment.
They're going to want to make
And
money.
it's their money.
Will they want to make money on this?
Unfortunately, they probably will. I mean, most developers come to town, they want to just make
Out
sure
of
you're
the
happy.
goodness of their heart, right?
That's it. But yeah, so that's why you have to balance those two issues out. And candidly, it helps you understand, why the project needs to be of a certain size, and then you have the policy decisions to make, which is, do you really need X? Because to get X, you have to get X number or Y number of units. So if you take out X, you can take out Y number of units, or Y number of units doesn't matter to me as long as we get X.
Right.
That's the policy call that the people sitting up there need to make. So, but that's that. The short answer is yes, you can do it. But I think, maybe what would help is to figure out, kind of what those are, and it might help drive some of that.
Okay. Which goes to your point of getting a committee so we can.
Know exactly what we want and then put it out for.
And then see what we're able to settle for, get.
Well, then you also have the option, this is similar to the Main Street Bridge, right? We can look at all options. Not just,
How do you think the development of the rebuilding of the bridge might affect what we want to do here? Because they want to put retail, right? And the bridge is going to take like 3-4 years.
Well, and again, it depends on how quickly those projects progress in parallel and whatnot. But it certainly could have some logistics and traffic impact during the time of construction. But I don't think long-term it would be prohibited.
So someone would still, you think, likely to bid on building something here, even though they know the bridge is going to be built?
You've got a decent market here, so.
Yeah. And the bridge is going to get done.
And the bridge, and actually the bridge.
That would be their benefit.
That's exactly the council.
Yeah.
It's the long term, it's probably in their benefit, improvements, just make everyone's life easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you. Now we move to petitions. Is there anybody in the audience that want to come forward and offer a petition? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Jen, you want to read that?
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 1st be approved as reported and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving to reports of council. Councilman Levis?
Yeah, the only thing I would report is that the Shark River Cleanup Coalition and the American Littoral Society are going to be tagging horseshoe crabs on the L Street Beach. They're going to be starting tomorrow night at 8:30. They're looking for volunteers. There was training at 7 o'clock that everyone missed. But I'm sure they'll take volunteers. If you have a drill and a flashlight, they'll happily take you and let you tag some horseshoe crabs.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have is we had a Harbor Commission meeting, still talking about marketing, and Kathy from Tap In is going to help the Harbor Commission with doing some, along with the business partners, to try to market some of the marina, and we thank her for that. And the other discussion that we had was whether we're going to have permanent parking or not down there for the boat owners, and it's on the agenda tonight, so that's all I have.
Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor McGovern. I don't have much. Two things. I hope everybody saw the letter in Tap Into and in the CoStar, where I thank all the merchants for their support for the fundraiser over at the Belmar Elementary School, the township fundraiser, which was great. I mean, the kids were really amazing. But it was pointed out to me that I forgot to thank one of the people who's been the most helpful and has been a supporter of this event since it started, and that's Pat Texta at Nostalgic Nonsense Vintage Clothing. She makes sure that every kid who's in the program, every kid who participates, wins something from her, and it's very, very generous. It's worth hundreds of dollars, and I just want to thank Pat personally and in public for all her support. And one other thing is, many of you know, I have been to New Orleans many times over the last 10 years. My youngest just graduated from college down there this past weekend. So I was there again, and believe me, New Orleans is a different world. It's kind of like the Wild West as far as like regulations. You don't need a permit for that. What are you talking about? Even down there, they're selling reusable bags in the supermarket. In the Winn-Dixie of all places, like the capital of plastic bags, they're selling reusable bags for their customers. It's everywhere there. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yeah, I don't have much. I want to thank everybody involved that put together the Atlantic Wind Ensemble last night up at the Taylor Pavilion. It was a free concert. Kyle Rizzatello, Claire Dykey, Fran Wilton. It was a beautiful event with a free orchestra playing for our town. And it was supporting Belmar Cares, which is a small group of women, which is a good thing, breast cancer survivors, so we raised money for that. So I want to thank the group that put that together. Also on May 23rd, Wednesday, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Taylor Pavilion, we're going to have our Belmar Cares Health Fair with some doctors speaking, and again on behalf of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But please join us up at Taylor Pavilion again on May 23rd from 6 to 8:30. It's a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll see on the resolution, we're introducing the 2018 local municipal budget. I just have a couple things to say. First, I'd like to thank Robin Kirk, our CFO, Colleen Conley, our borough administrator, for such hard work in putting this municipal budget together. And I'd just like to mention, it will be for this year, 2018, it will again be with a zero tax increase for the municipal tax. So thank you, ladies. This is my first time sitting down. They're trying to explain it to me. I'm listening the best I can. But I truly believe that Belmar is heading in the right direction. Some of the things that I took from them trying to teach me what's going on. Our revenues are up. Last year, we collected in taxes $6.6 million in the borough of Belmar. That's for municipal taxes. Okay? Our concession rents, we brought in $340,000 in last year, right?
In this year, we anticipate.
We anticipate bringing in $340,000 this year, which is $90,000 more than last year. Our interlocal agreement and contracts, we anticipate bringing in $1,587,000, which is $177,000 more than 2017. That interlocal agreement is between the police, fire prevention, and fire protection that Belmar offers to some other towns. Our marina slip rentals, we anticipate $1,070,000, which is $70,000 more than last year. So our revenues that we anticipate are up. We do have some expenditures, okay? But our departments that we have, police department, Department of Public Works, the other departments in town, we're keeping them, their spending for their equipment, supplies, and expenses at the 2017 level. You know, so they probably don't like Colleen and Robin very much, because revenues are going up, but their expenses that they can spend in their departments are staying the same. There are some expenditures that are going up over 2017. Our workers, our employees for the Borough of Belmar, their cost of living increased to 2% a year for the next 4 years. The contracts are signed, just 2%. So, you know, all the credit in the world goes to our employees. They do a great job. But 2%, you know, that's good. It's holding in line. New vehicles. We're going to get 3 new vehicles. One for the police department, one for the Department of Public Works, and one for the fire department. And the reason is, and I'm just going to use the word Sandy just once. Don't want to use that S word too often. But after the storm, we had to replace our entire fleet of cars. We have not really replaced that fleet since then. It is time to start renewing those cars or vehicles for the police department, the fire department, and the Department of Public Works. So we have to spend money for that. Also, Belmar, we anticipate increasing our principal debt payments across all the funds by $163,000. So more than last year. We're going to be spending $163,000 more on the principal of the debt that we owe. That which will reduce the amount of interest that we have to pay in the future. So really, for 2018, we have been able to keep the municipal taxes at 0%. The beach badges for this year are still at $50 for the season and $15 for the season for this year. And the department spending, as I said, has remained the same for the expenses. You know, we can see the results of the people's confidence in Belmar. If you drive around town, you can see the building of the new private homes, the remodeling of the homes. The people have confidence in the Borough of Belmar. The taxes are stable. When New Jersey is losing population, and New Jersey is at a negative for how many people we had years ago, people want to move to Belmar. Thank you in large part to our geography. What other town has an ocean, a river, a marina, the lakes, a vibrant Main Street, Highway 35 that can take you out to 18 so you get to New Brunswick, the Parkway, the Turnpike, Trenton. We got a train station which take you up to New York City. We've just got it here, and people are beginning to realize that. They may be, if they do move out of New Jersey, those that are staying want to come back to Belmar, which is where we see the development. Some of the people feel that Belmar is developing too quickly. Some people don't want Belmar to develop at all. They want Belmar to stay the same. You know, this year's ratables are not going to be able to support tomorrow's future operation expenses. Okay? But thanks to the planning of, like, Mayor Pringle, he had the vision years ago to start a redevelopment zone in Belmar, because he knew we were going to have to attract new ratables. It's starting to happen. Mayor Doherty was lucky enough to get a shovel into the ground. And he was also able to sign some interlocal agreements and contracts, which brought in revenue. That's really helping us stabilize our residence taxes, you know, east of Main Street and out on the Rhode Island Point. So in other words, that's why our taxes are staying stable, because of the vision of those two great mayors. So, in honesty, in 2018, we are now reaping the benefits of the years of smart planning by Mayors Pringle and Doherty, and we keep Belmar, we know Belmar's pointed in the right direction. So that's my point on the municipal budget that we're going to vote on today, but it will be introduced, well, we're introducing it today, and Robin is hanging around to answer any questions, probably during the public portion. Is that correct?
Really, at this time of introduction, that's really all it is. We're going to have a public hearing in 2 meetings' time. And that's really where Robin does her pretty PowerPoint presentation, and there'll be a lot more back and forth. Robin is here with our auditor, Chuck Fallon, tonight to answer any preliminary questions that members of council may have. But there is no, past the resolution calendar, there's not a public hearing on it, per se.
Okay.
So if any council members have questions for Robin, that's time to strike while the iron's hot.
I've asked most of my questions, and Robin has.
So we've all met with her, right?
No, I
We've
haven't
all
met
looked
her.
at
Not
her.
yet, you were away, but we will catch up with you.
Mark?
Okay, great.
Do you have any questions for Robin?
No, I'm good.
Jen? You're not a rookie at this, right?
No, I'm not. And I do thank the council people that have met with both myself and Colleen so far. We have about a month. We can have several more meetings if you continue to go through things. For the public's information, our auditor, wonderful auditor, did bring our state document this evening. We'll be signing it. It'll be scanned and up on our website tomorrow. Also, if you actually want a paper copy of it, please just contact April, and you're more than willing to go through these 74 pages at your leisure. And then we will have a public hearing and any questions, or any questions ahead of time. We're always available, even to the public, before the actual hearing in June. So, okay? And I do appreciate if you raise that miscellaneous revenue by $500 for a special meeting for the planning board, because it is things like that that this council has moved forward with over the past 10 or 15 years. Granted, don't want to keep taking money out of everybody's pockets, but if we can save the taxpayers, if people do request something special from us, those are other revenues that can help cover our costs without having to increase taxes.
Thank you, Robin. Next on my report, there was a police unity tour. We have policemen Tom Cox, Tina Scott, Mike Yee, Kevin Jones, and Phil Bonham. They rode their bicycles 300 miles, and they returned yesterday. Tom, I see you sitting here. Do you want to stay, or you want to stand up? I mean, you might be a little sore, right?
I'm okay.
Can you tell the audience exactly what the unity tour is? And
Yeah, it's a tour that's held, I'm not sure what year it started, but it's a tour for officers who died in line of duty. We ride from here to DC. We meet up with other chapters throughout the tri-state area and from California, Florida, and some other states as well. And we meet at RFK Stadium is our end point, and we ride in all together into DC to the police memorial. I think this year there was over 2,000 riders that rode in at once into the memorial in DC, which was a very moving experience. And I have to say that we had good weather this year. A little foggy on 2 mornings, but otherwise it was, the ride conditions were pretty good. Over the past 5 years when I rode, we had days where it was brutally hot. We had days where it was brutally cold, windy, rainy. So this year was a pleasure to ride, and we had good weather the whole way. So.
what's your route?
We don't give out the route. They don't even tell us the route. So, you know, it's for security.
You're not on the Parkway, or?
We were. Yes,
Whoa.
we had a fun encounter with watching traffic being stopped everywhere on the road. So, and some of those stops in traffic were morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour. So yeah, we interrupted lots of traffic from here to
What's
DC.
the total mileage?
First leg was 88 miles, second leg 51, third leg 83, last leg 50.
Oh, okay.
I just want to add it was started
Sure.
in 1997, it started in Florham Park, New Jersey, and it's international now. Tom ran with riders from Florida, Maine, and California.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Great job. Now, finally, We all know the Seafood Festival is beginning this Friday. And it's also scheduled for Saturday and Sunday. And I had, for a couple of years, an idea, and Mary Brabazon this year has agreed to help me out with it. Just before Friday, before we open up the Seafood Festival, in my power as the mayor, I want to pardon a lobster. And I'm going to decree Larry the lobster, we're going to bring down the Moby mat, close to the water, take it out of the bucket of water, and offer him his freedom. And hopefully, he'll crawl in to the water.
Really?
What I'm afraid of, I don't want a WKRP Cincinnati fundraiser disaster that Les Nessman had when they threw out live turkeys from an airplane, when the turkeys didn't fly. So I don't want to see this lobster drown. I don't want to see some shark suddenly come up as soon as we release it and gobble it up. But I want to make it, I think it could go over pretty well. Belmar pardoning a live lobster. I think it's going to be a 5-pounder, and release it into water. I don't know how it'll go. I hope it goes well.
Should take the rubber bands off. Big
Yeah, Lucky Larry the lobster, LLL. So at about 3:30 at the 5th Avenue Beach, we're going to pardon a lobster so that he can escape the Belmar Seafood Festival. And we'll have a lifeguard there, hopefully. Put him on maybe a kayak, because I don't know how lobsters do in the surf. And take him down to the inlet and put him near the jetty so he can enjoy the rocks. And hopefully live the rest of his life, free of butter, restaurant menus, whatever. So. All right, so that's my report. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. All matters. Public session. Sorry. Public session on the resolutions only on the agenda. We will continue to have a public session at the end of this meeting. Is there anybody that has anything to say about the resolutions that are on the agenda? Step forward. Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public portion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Okay, next, on the consent agenda. All matters listed in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Borough Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, then the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution? Calvin.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Lennon?
Yes.
Okay, moving down to the ordinances. Ordinance number 2000.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I make a motion to vote on ordinance number 2018-4. Anybody have a second?
Second?
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Lennon?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2018-5, the second reading and public hearing of ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending the revised general ordinance, chapter 19, traffic, to designate certain intersections as multi-way stop intersections and to delete certain through streets. Do anyone in the audience want to come up to the microphone? Come up, Mr. Pyro, just state your name and address.
Peter Pyro, North Boulevard, Belmar. This ordinance this is the second reading, so this obviously didn't incorporate last night's meeting we had with regard to the one-way streets. Question, when will an ordinance be introduced with regard to the revised one-way streets with regard to 19th Avenue and 20th Avenue?
if I may, this ordinance was introduced, and it has nothing to do with the one-way streets. This is about stop signs. And certainly it reflective of the meeting that we had last night, most of you were at, we plan to bring forward a modification to the one-way street ordinance at your next meeting on June 6th.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Anybody else? All right, seeing no one else,
I have one comment on it.
Okay, sure.
I just noticed when I was reading this at home, the 13th Avenue and K Street intersection is listed as a one-way stop sign, but I noticed it actually is a multi-way stop right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Greg, could you take a look at that 13th and K?
There was one where it was, you have to forgive me, I have to go back to my notes, but there was one where it's a multi-way stop now, but then to implement the B Street through plan, or, I'm sorry, the one of the through streets plan, you had to take it out.
We'll take a look at it. It's up by K Street,
Okay.
so it shouldn't be influenced by the.
Yeah,
by
it's all the way
the-
up, you're
yeah.
talking all the way up by the marina.
I do think it's ministerial in nature. I think we can
Oh,
probably
you mean,
fix it.
okay, I follow you. So there, you saw something in there that the conditions on the ground. that they were
It's
in
not a
trouble.
change in the ordinance. The existing ordinance says that 13th and K Street, there's a stop at 13th Ave. That's true, but there's also a stop on K Street.
Probably should say multi-way instead of,
It should be in the multi-way
Yes.
instead of the,
Right.
okay.
I think we can just fix that.
Sure, I can put that on, I'll be talking about June 6th apparently, so we'll take care of both at the same time.
Great.
Okay. Okay, so I make a motion to accept ordinance number 2018-5. Do I have a second?
Close the public hearing first.
Oh, I thought I did that already, no? Okay. I make a motion to close the public portion for the ordinance number 2018-5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So now I make a motion to accept ordinance number 2018-5.
Second?
Okay. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Council Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Okay, second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2018-6. Now we're open for public comment. Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public comment for ordinance 2018-6. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye. Now I make a motion to accept, I make a motion to, vote on ordinance 2018-6.
Second.
Okay. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Council Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Okay, second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2018-7, ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending the revised general ordinance, chapter 31, environment and natural resources, to add article 31-6, use of plastic bags by businesses. I make a motion to open up the comments to the public. Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public portion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I make a motion to vote on ordinance 2018-7.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Council Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Okay, this one's going to be a first reading and introduction for ordinance 2018-8. Ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending the revised general ordinance, chapter 19, traffic, to clarify certain parking restrictions and to move and designate certain reserved first responders parking spaces on Ocean Avenue. I make a motion to introduce the ordinance.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Council Osmer?
These here spaces that are just being moved to the new pavilion? Is that what this ordinance is?
It's actually moving them across the street. So right now, the designated spaces for first responders are on the east side.
Right.
And are taking up slots that could otherwise be revenue generating slips during the summer. At the request of the Department of Public Safety, these are being moved to the west side of Ocean Avenue, thus freeing up some more parking slots on the east side. It's
All right, so it'd be
reallocated.
like in front of the Mayfair? somewhere there?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Okay, next, first reading and introduction for ordinance 2018-9, an ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a capital bank NJSA 40A:4-45.14. That was tricky.
Yes, it is.
I make a motion to introduce the ordinance 2018-9.
Second?
Councilman Bennett?
Didn't we do this last year?
We do this every
We
year.
do,
This
that's
is, it's good practice in the state of New Jersey to ensure, it's an insurance policy on future years' budgets, should we have to exceed the cap. We do not anticipate that, we do not think that this year, but it is good practice to do.
Okay, aye.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, now we move to the public session. I ask if you know to come forward, raise your hand first, come forward, state your name and address. We'll go like 5 minutes because there's other people that want to speak. If we can answer your questions, we will. We will try not to get into a debate. If we need further research, we'll try and get back to you. So, is anybody? Yes.
Linda Sharkus, 400 4th Avenue. Driving around town, I've noticed there's a number of box trucks parked in residential areas, as well as a bus parked in somebody's driveway. Are there any ordinances that preclude parking of those vehicles within residential sections of town? They're in driveways, but people don't expect to have commercial vehicles being their neighbors. So I was wondering if there's anything on the books.
I know that we have an ordinance about parking boxcars on trucks. Tom?
Yeah, I have to research it, but I believe that, I think during the day, it's okay, and then there's a time limit at night, and there's also a weight on vehicles for overnight parking. I believe there is something on the books in reference to buses being parked in driveways. Like I said, I'd have to research it and determine if that's the case, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the bus is used for, as an ice cream truck.
Oh, okay.
But it is kind of unsightly to have with the price of our real estate, having a bus parked in a driveway.
So that ice cream truck is parked in a driveway in Belmar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can research and you can email me if you like.
Okay.
And,
a second comment is that as we talk about parking in town, there's many people who haven't extended the runners or driveways to their garages, so people's backyards appear to be turning into parking lots with cars parked happenstance behind the house. So it was my understanding that you're required to have pavement under a car or stone or some kind of non-flammable substrate. Could anybody comment on what those requirements are? And if we could work to curtail, public park or private parking in a backyard as if it's a parking lot?
I mean, I can see both sides of this. So we get so crowded, you couldn't park them on the street. You mean this is at night or?
These are people just have now made kind of an issue of parking on the grass.
That would be a violation.
If I
yeah.
could offer, code
Yeah.
enforcement exists for this kind of reason, so
Yes.
if there are specific concerns or potential violations, residents can contact the code enforcement office, and they'll go out and investigate and address it if appropriate.
Yeah, we just had a couple of these that I dealt with in court that were a couple of vehicles on the property that were in repair mode and in violation of the ordinance. So usually code enforcement handles that, so.
Yeah.
But what about on a weekend when you have family come down, friends come down, and there's no more parking on the street and?
Can't park on the grass. It's gotta
Can't park on the
It's gotta be
grass.
parked in the driveway, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dave.
Hi, David Scheck, 302 C Street. Is this working? We're having some sort of a meeting here before the actual meeting. I understand some people tried to come in a few minutes before 6.
Not a community meeting, it was a elected officials training session from our joint insurance fund. Actually, Borough of Belmar, if their council goes through this program, we get a reduction on our insurance.
You do that every year, right?
Every year. It's one of those things to save a little bit of money. I think it's $250 per councilman, so we, you know, we just saved $1,200 today.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Pat?
Excuse me. Patricia Texa, I own Nostalgic Nonsense Vintage Clothing at 903 Main Street. I'm just shouting it out that this coming June 10th, it's Sunday, is the second annual Pirate Walk. It's a family-oriented shopping event in downtown Belmar. It's from noon to 3. There's a treasure chest hunt, geared just like a candy cane hunt. Then we have it's free, everything's free. And we have a pirate reenactment group in the plaza. And any shops that participate have treasure chests in their window and kids can look for it. We also have a free gift auction for people over 21. And it's June 10th, the Sunday before Father's Day, from noon to 3, and the free registration is at Belmont Plaza.
Do you have to dress like a pirate?
You don't have to. We're kind of, you know, if you're a 10-year-old and you don't feel like it that day, we're not going to leave you out. If you're an adult accompanying those kids, we give you a free gift auction ticket. And if you're an adult dressed as a pirate, we give you a free gift auction ticket too. And last year we had 15 businesses in the Pirate Walk. And it's just a walk around town. It's like a candy cane hunt, and it's family oriented. And the things go on in the plaza. And I just wanted to tell everybody about it. And that it's not a bar crawl. It's
Sponsored by BBP?
Oh yes, that's why I'm up here. It's sponsored by the Belmar Business Partnership. Yes.
You know, in my talk about the budget, I wanted to mention that the BBP is very good in making Main Street very active and vibrant, which is what's bringing people to Belmar and liking Belmar and coming here.
That's why
for things like this.
I'm here to mention this, that it is a family-oriented shopping event. Okay, so, and it's not on a crazy, 4th of July Sunday or anything like that. Okay. All right, thank you.
Crazy 4th of July, I've never heard of this.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the meeting and adjourn.